particular product to a point where you meet their price point? And if by meeting that price point, is it gonna affect your brand or like the usefulness of the product?
I have never compromised brand, price for the brand value.
I don't agree
Never.
with that, absolutely.
I think a lot of people make that mistake because they want to sell quickly, but they don't realize that by reducing that price point, you're jeopardizing your brand.
Which I think is a huge problem with Amazon, is because in order to penetrate the market, a lot of the competition or the brands will come in and try, like, to defeat the existing brands.
Right.
They'll do that, but then on the opposite, like the gentleman over there with the Turkish coffee, you can utilize Amazon as kind of like a commercial per se for your brand, but at the same time, in order to compete and get that transaction, sometimes you'll have to offer specials like an Amazon 10% discount, this and that. I don't know how he runs it, but I mean, just kind of like on a rudimentary.
I've had a lot of clients come crying to me about Amazon.
It can be very painful if
I've
you're
had-
not careful.
I've had them come crying and because they've hung all their eggs in that basket, the Amazon basket, and with one bad review, Amazon shuts you down overnight. So think of that revenue line for your business. So I always tell people, you need your own website. You need to manage your brand and have that option where people can come and buy from your own website. I'm not saying it's impossible to rectify that situation, but it takes a while. So if you've got 200,000 coming in from Amazon and they've shut you down and nothing else, what would you do, right?
It's kind of connection to that, sorry. So do you think that developing an app, is that important for your company? Because
It
I mean-
depends. An app is only as good as the people using it. You still need to market the app. And this is where a lot of business owners fall short, and I don't know if you agree with me, because they think that's the next best thing to do, but they don't promote it. So no one's using it, so what's the point?
It's a numbers game. The more you're out there, that's what I was going to explain. The more potential eyes you have, the greater investment. I would think you would agree. You'd rather have 100 cheap customers or 10 good customers.
But I think it's also going back to the actual aspect of the technology too, because right now, I mean, it's like for us too, like, how many of us really how many apps do we really keep on our phone?
A lot.
We'll download, and then we'll, like, if we have limits, we'll start deleting. So I
Right.
mean, how often how many apps do you actually use on your phone?
You need to think of an app as a product in its own right, and if you can't market it and you can't invest in the marketing of it,
Your
I would say
website's an
don't do it.
investment, I think.
Yeah, right.
Investment.
You can rank a website more so than an app.
I'll
You
give
can
you an
also,
example. I had a client that discounted everything. And when we took them on, I said, all those go. You got a good product, there's no reason to discount it. Within 1 year, he lost 10% of his clients, but his profits went up 20%.
Sometimes you have to fire your customers.
and you can,
Exactly.
you can also make a website responsive. A lot of people have websites that don't come up on their phones. And you can have a responsive site that shows up on your
It's now a
phone.
given, actually.
I still see websites that aren't responsive, so I have to download their app to do what I wanna do on my phone, cause I can't do it on the website.
That's
So
interesting.
if you have a responsive site that pulls up on your phone like a phone, you don't need an app and you're gonna get sales.
Same thing, yeah,
But
right.
then you would also say that it's already, the infrastructure already there, why don't you develop an app in the first place?
I mean,
right?
some
It's
businesses don't need
not
apps.
cheap
though,
to develop an
sometimes.
app, it's cheaper to
Apps
do a
are expensive.
website and rank the website.
Yeah.
Going back to another point is, what we noticed too, that we used to have a lot of competitors here in California, as far as plastic and small businesses. But a lot of them, they sold really cheap, and eventually they went bankrupt because of all the regulations and stuff like that. So if you start giving away the product and you don't make any profit, you're gonna lose either way, or eventually get bought out by a bigger company. That's what happened with a lot of our competitors.
I guess like for me, like it's the opposite interaction, where I had a company and the supplier started supplying my customers. So I got taken out of this Chinese competition, so I got taken out of them. So I mean, because I was a B2B, it was very difficult. Now, given like this lecture, I tried to create a B2C, but because my customers were all in that business, now I started losing customers because I was, in essence, taking away their market share. You know, so
Right.
even when you're developing your business, and depending on what your brand is, you can't sparse. I mean, even though it might be something that's like, okay, economically the numbers are there, it might not be beneficial for your business because, like, on a bad thing, it helped deteriorate my business because I went into that market of the BTC.
So a lot of people that think B2C is really easy, but it's actually a hefty investment because you're trying to get 300 million people to know about it, if you think about it that way.
I mean, the other thing too, that I have a client that they make a very niche product. They sell engine mounts. So when you pull out an engine, they have a mount that holds the engine. And they have an engine mount that's made specifically in America. It's a really high price, and they have specific niche customers for that. But then they also have the same product that's made in China that's far less. And that's the product they sell on Amazon to let people know this is the brand, this is whatever, it's a lot less. It can compete with the Amazon and other people selling that product. But then they direct their people for those niche customers that want the high-end American-made product come to their website. They can
Right.
only buy it there.
Right.
So just because you're on Amazon doesn't necessarily mean, hey, you know, excuse the language, hoard out, and you got to sell it to compete. But you have the ability to put on Amazon what you want on Amazon. If you have a lot of products, you can make an Amazon-style version product and direct them to a more profitable product on your website. Just as to the gentleman right here's point, you can use Amazon as a marketing tool for your ultimate website.
Right, so again, it's this mixed strategy, right? It's a mixed strategy as where you're gonna funnel in the sale. At the end of the day, you want sales. There's another, before I go to my next point, I wanna share this with you really quickly. I am really good at getting leads from my clients. Like, this is something that I wake up each day and that's what I want to do, all right? I have a warehouse, a 3PL warehouse that I bring, and I get leads for them internationally. It spins my wheels. But you know what I hate the most? Is when the lead comes in and that there isn't a salesperson to follow up. So don't say anything about just lead generation. You've got to be able to close it. And if you don't have that system in place, then you might as well not spend anything on all of this. Website, lead generation, search engine optimization, right?
I agree 100%.
I do work for attorneys as well. How many of you ring a law office and the lady goes, law office? Well, I know it's a law office, but welcome to da-da-da. How may I help you? Now you got their attention. You're acknowledging that you received them with warmth, right?
I'd rather get the hello instead of 1,500 names before they finish the
Or,
name.
can you hold on 1 second? And they, and they put you on hold. And then 10 minutes later, you're still na. So the same thing applies for you. You can invest all you want in marketing and websites and SEO and social media and blogs and content and videos. But when that lead comes in, you need to convert it into a sale. All right? So the other thing I want to mention here, and I have an amazing business partner here, Karen Paltrow. He is from Card Connect, and he's going to speak next about payment gateways and payment solutions, so that when you do sell, you get paid. All right? Understanding what your competition is doing. How many of you love to spy on your competition?
We looked at other websites and
Have
said,
you gone
we
to
like
Russia?
it, we don't like it.
I make more money in creating a product to fix their problems than I make by selling my product.
Guess what? I'm a spy. So you can spy using the internet. You can spy on what their SEO strategy is. It may not be a good thing to know everything, but at least you know where the landscape is. Then you can actually choreograph your whole structure for content. You can either go head on, or you can differentiate yourself, right? How many of you have done that? How many of you have actually understood what keywords your competitors are going after? I know you do. That's good that you do for skincare, because that's really hefty.
Yeah, but it's one big problem, really scratched me the wrong way.
Scratch you around.
But in the internet, you put up tankless water heater, how to install a tankless water heater, anything with tankless water heater. The very first page is going to be other search engines to send you to another search engines, to other search engines. Anything has to do with tankless water heater is going to be a second or third page. How you go around that?
I think you need to not do that. I think you need to go directly to the competitor that has similar or better quality products than you.
Even my competitor is not in the first page, he's still in the third page. The internet got gobbled up, all those search engines who have their, for any word you put in, they're gonna show up first, second, and third, and fourth, and so on and so forth.
So the way I would look at that is an opportunity for you to actually gazump them.
How?
That's for me to know.
Yeah, stop using Google for your searching.
I
Can't get what you want.
It's frustrating, but you can counter this for your own benefit.
I don't know how, but the thing is that there are companies who got millions of dollars of money to spend for this kind of stuff, and they are still at the third page, next to me, which I didn't spend any
What
money.
search engine is this?
You go to Google and you put tankless water heaters, for
Yeah.
example, or have anything to do with tankless water heaters, you're gonna find any company in the first page. Everything in the first page is gonna be USA Today, gonna be whatever other things, Yelp, all the other stuff on it, in the first page. Second page about halfway, and then you're gonna see a couple of things like, those blogs about bad things about companies, against whatever. And then you're finally gonna find some names. I put my name of the company on the internet, and I still didn't get it until the third page, because the first 2 pages was things has nothing to do with anything. You click on it, and it takes you to another place where you're supposed to click on it to go to other places, and so on and so forth. It got.
I would love to take a look at the case, because I think that there's a disconnect there. I think there's a disconnect there, George. I'll be happy to take a look at your case.
Well, I think what he's referring to is like if you put in, I need a window installer, and you'll come up with a website and say, here's the top 10 window installers. They're
Exactly.
there are other.
Those
sites.
are very serious players, and they will come up first, but there are ways to actually get to them, just under them.
Yeah, just you won't get it, because you don't have the money.
I don't have the money the Riverside has or Bosch has. Okay, those are
He's also talking
multinational
about
companies. And
He
they are
says
still,
going to a Google, to a search engine, that's a bad malware you have on your computer. That's why it's going from search engine to search engine to search engine. Because there are all kinds of search engines out there, they're competing for your search. They don't want you to use a Google, so they'll put things on Google to take you to their search engine, so that you stay there, because they
are you
make money
telling
out
me
of
I have a
advertising.
malware in my computer that does that?
Yeah, you can. You may have that in your computer.
It's an isolated case, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
I'll have to
That's
take a
what
look
I
at
think
it,
it
yeah.
is.
Look at your extensions.
Apply a sales mindset to every marketing asset. So when you do something, don't think of anything but your sales strategy. Always come back to that sales strategy. And you track your performance. How many of you use Google Analytics? Just one. Okay. All right. So we've got Google Analytics, we've got Google Webmaster Tools. I don't know if you guys have seen that. That's why you have to index your website. It now, and then Google Maps, if you need Google Maps, it gives you the keywords, how people have actually searched for you in the near-me searches, what keywords are being put in. So there's a lot of analytics out there so you can track your performance. And most importantly, what's the most important performance indicator? Leads to sales. Yeah. Yes.
How important is page rank for SEO?
Very important.
Yeah, okay.
Super important. If you don't have the right, if it's a slow load, that impacts it. Yeah. All right, any other questions? I'm just gonna go real fast. You, as of last year, you need to have your site SSL certified. It's not difficult to do, but if you don't have HTTPS in your domain name, then your site is not secure, it's not compliant with Google. If your site is not mobile friendly, it is not recognized or will not be indexed with Google, all right? I want to go fast forward this because I have some case studies here and I want Karen to talk. Let's look at Brazil for a minute. 90% of online purchases made are with PCs. 47% of households have broadband internet. Smartphone penetration per household is 130%. Social media uses Instagram and WhatsApp. So if you use Facebook, guess what? The Brazilians are not going to see you. All right? WhatsApp is huge. How many of you use WhatsApp? Consumer habits, price comparisons are done using the internet. What language do they speak in Brazil? Portuguese. So if you write your content in Spanish, guess what? They're not going to understand. understand it. All right? United Kingdom, 93% in the UK have internet, so it's pretty great. But do you know the English in the US is not the same as the English in the UK? They kind of understand this, but they don't really. All right? Spain, 79% of the population has internet. Germany, 87%. France is very difficult to penetrate because some people are so old-fashioned there. Japan, 100%. China, by 2020, mobile payments will replace traditional forms. It's already happening now. If you go to China, they have a cashless society. Everything's done on WeChat or Weiqing, right, Sean? In fact, I just had a client go over to China, and there are literally signs on the shops, we do not accept cash.
And you just made me think about that. I'm like, oh, next time I go, I need to make sure I do that, because the last
You
time.
can't trade.
Yeah, we're still been using, currency
Right.
and a credit card or
I
something.
heard earlier that you guys buy things from China and you get someone to inspect it here. I work with a company, T-Link Hong Kong, and they do the inspections in China before it gets here. So if you ever need that contact, let me know, all right? India, 1 billion people, they speak English.
Next biggest market.
Huge market potential. They use Facebook the most, YouTube, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger is another one. Not too many though, but Facebook's a big one there. Projected growth in social network use. You can see it's just going up from here, right? I wanted to show you some sites just so you get a feel. This is Japan, Rakuten, Japan. Look at the style and design. You put an American website with a .jp, they're not gonna like it, will they? Look at the colors, look how busy it is. They like that kind of thing. This is like a Wayfair kind of Amazon version of Japan. Taobao in China, also kind of, I don't think American consumers would relate to this so much, but they do over there. Flipkart in India, a little bit more in line with the US, right? Huge market, they just got bought out by Walmart. Mercado Libre from Mexico. A little less cluttered, but everything's in Spanish and the colors are tuned in to the Hispanic culture. And that's the Brazilian version of Target. Now there's a new phenomenon now in e-commerce in America. Websites are getting sued if you're not ADA friendly. American Disabilities Act has kicked in. I don't know if you know that.
Yes, I do.
People are getting sued because their websites may not be accessible to the blind and the deaf, and the colorblind, and the autistic. So you've got to be very aware of it. The testing of it's very, very hefty. I've looked at a few sites. Target, for example, gets sued every day.
And 90% of websites are out of compliance.
Well, yeah, how do you do blind? I mean,
Braille,
Mm-hmm.
because it's voice, right? But
But also colorblind, if you have yellow writing on a white background or
Right.
vice versa, you can't see it, that's out of compliance.
so there's two types of testing. One is through through computerized testing, but it only covers 20% of what a disabled person might experience. Clinical testing with real disabled people, you can imagine the cost can go up to $40,000, $50,000 a website. So I just want you to be aware of this because people like Wayfair and Target are getting hit. I'm not saying you should embrace it, I'm saying it's a law, but how you manage that risk is up, you've got to think about this.
Question, is there a tool that you know of that can, basically you can have the words on the page read to you? Like you can do it with MS Word, you can just have the words read out loud.
So
Is there sites that do that?
Most of the coding done in Responsive does that, if it's done correctly. This is the voice speech that comes up from whatever you've coded it to be. So it's not something like an external link that comes in to your website. It has to be developed and coded that way.
An opportunity for a tool there though, isn't it?
There are plenty, but a lot of them may not say the right thing. It's a bit like Google Translate.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I
So
get it,
if
yeah.
you've got something really technical, you don't want it to be translated incorrectly to the blind person. Because they might end up buying something that they don't need or
What's your estimate of the average cost to make a site compliant?
If it's clinical with human beings meaning a panel of disabled people, it could start at about 50,000. So it can cripple some of us, it'll cripple me. So I've made a decision that I'm not gonna do it, somebody says so.
Aren't there kind of key things we should be aware of, though, that we could do, like not putting yellow on white? I mean, first who the heck can read yellow on white?
You can, there are certain guidelines, but like I say, Target's followed those guidelines.
Yeah, but I'm not Target.
And they still get sued.
Well, it's like the Prop 365 stuff.
So all I'm saying this is to give you an awareness
Yeah.
of it, right?
They're looking for deep pockets.
Of course, and they're out there, you know, just shopping.
So just like a lot of our buildings, they have to be ADA compliant, and it never ends. And business owners tend to get sued regardless, right?
And a lot of these companies that are out suing, like they did in residence, they're doing it on e-commerce, they're literally going after companies, putting a lawsuit together, hoping that you'll settle, pay the money, and then you still don't have a compliant site after that. So, you know, it's going to be a very, very common thing. It's not it's a big deal, but it's not as big as it is in ADA compliance in brick and mortar. But it's something that you want to keep in mind when you're building a site, that whoever's building it is aware of it and can take care of it from the beginning.
So right now, the biggest hits are government websites and healthcare, and e-tail, e-commerce retail. So these are the top 3 contenders for lawsuits right now.
Just don't forget that every year the promotion of lawyers is larger than the lawyer practicing.
That's right, we are in the USA.
So that's what
They
the
gotta do
problem is
something,
right there,
right?
they have to do something.
So Mustafa has touched on this, your partner with the logistics company is really important, but I think I'm gonna like laser focus this into, I'm gonna finish with, always think SEO to sales. Don't just think SEO. You do SEO in your website, they go hand in hand. You need the car to race on the Google freeway. You gotta have the high octane fuel so your car can race properly on the freeway. The high octane fuel is the content, the recipe to get your inroad tone. But then now you get the lead, and you wanna close the lead, and you close the lead. You're sold, you wanna get paid. So many ways to get paid.